what's up? Welcome back. Thank you so much for making it this far. I really do appreciate it. Today I want to talk about what I think is likely the most important thing to consider when you're working on skills and trying to work on progression. Now, this isn't some guru pretentious BS. It's something that I think about every time I ride, and it's really helped me quite a bit. And as I explain how I do things in like tutorials and how-tos, I realize that a lot of it comes back to this one simple idea. So how important is this thing that I'm talking about? Well, the success of your wheelies depends on it. The success of your manuals depends on it. Whether you control a jump or not depends on it. Whether you control a drop or not depends on it. How well you move through a tech section depends on it. Your up and overs depends on it. And no, it's not this game changer bike from Walmart. No, it's not how I almost died. No, it's not on the state of the mountain bike industry. So what am I talking about? Talking about the idea of momentum. So when I talk about momentum, I don't simply mean rolling from point A to point B on our bikes, kind of like a bowling ball rolling down the alley. That's not what I'm talking about. Instead, what I'm talking about is the idea that us as mountain bikers, we're more like a bouncy ball that's rolling across very uneven and rocky terrain. And everything that we come in contact with redirects us or tries to change our trajectory and impact our momentum. To overcome that, what we can do that the bouncy ball cannot do is prepare for those obstacles and control our momentum to get over them and through them to have the outcome that we desire. So let me first introduce a super elementary example here of momentum and the type of momentum I'm referring to versus the type of momentum that I'm not. This is not momentum. This is the momentum I'm referring to. Got it? Cool. Now let's prove my case. Squirrel, squirrel. All right, so before we hit the trails, let's talk about two techniques that you may be working on, two skills you may be working on that don't involve trail work, okay? And that is wheelies and manuals. Now, the average beginner would learn the steps of a manual and a wheelie and apply those steps. And they might be concerned with the outcome because they're not getting the results they expect, right? They thought by just applying this formula, a wheelie comes along or a manual comes along. And that's generally not the case. Why? Because they have to work on controlling their body weight. And by controlling their body weight is controlling their momentum. I'm confident I could wheelie any size bike, not because it's skill, not because it's strength, it's technique. And what technique it relies on is an understanding of how to utilize your body's momentum. So as I work on bringing my front wheel up to that balancing point, I'm really thinking about what my body's momentum does to help get that up quickly and cleanly. And then as I work on holding that balance, again, it's just my shifting of my upper body's momentum that will hold that wheelie in the air. Similar to wheelies, the same thing applies to manuals. Folks have so much trouble getting that front wheel up, that front wheel lift. And it's not about strength, it's all about technique. And that technique comes from how we manage our momentum. So as you work on manuals, I want you to think about how your body's momentum impacts the manualing process. I'm going very slow right here. I don't have a lot of that bowling ball A to B momentum. So I really got to focus on that bouncy ball momentum, which is in my hips and my upper body in this box here that's on my bike. So I'm going like a walking speed here, and I'm able to shift my momentum around, my weight around, to keep it up until I'm almost at a complete stop. So I think when a lot of people think of bunny hops, they think it's just a strength move. It's all in like pulling with your arms and popping with your legs. And while that does help if you're really trying to get height, you don't need to do any of those things. You don't even need to really press up with your legs to get air or get your bike into the air. And that's because we can utilize our upper body, our body mass for momentum to do so. So I'm going to show you here. I'm going to do a bunny hop now. It'll be small because I'm on a super squishy bike. I'm not using any leg muscle. I'm not using any arm muscle aside from redirecting my body mass. So check it out. I have to bend my legs a little bit just to get my body where it needs to go. But there's no like power, no muscle in my legs. But you can see like you can really get a few inches off the ground with just your momentum. Let's look at rolls, okay? This roll isn't terribly steep, but it's steep enough that if you came in and you misused your momentum, you'd have issues. Now, when rolls get steeper, what your momentum does is it holds you to the rock. It provides traction down the rock face. And to do that, we drive our momentum into the rock, into the roll, from a high point to a low point. I'm not going to go into the how-tos. Again, this is just my user case for the value of momentum and the value of thinking about it as you ride. So as I ride into this basic roll here, I'm really trying to be conscious of what my momentum is doing and what it needs to do, okay? So right here I'm high, and I'm gonna drop in over the apex. By dropping in with my shoulders and my body weight, controlling my momentum, it really holds me to that rock. I don't have that feeling where I'm levitating or getting pulled off of the rock because my momentum has carried away from the rock. So this rock roll here is definitely one where if you come in too fast or use inappropriate momentum, it's gonna turn it into a drop. And this one, you don't really wanna drop it. To control our momentum, we're gonna find our line, then we're gonna slow down. We're gonna stop and drive down into it. So the physics of that really wanted to pull me from the rock face. I felt it. But because I dropped my shoulders down and drove my mass down the rock face, that momentum really clung me to the rock. About drops, okay, drops, there are all different types of drops. Every drop you ride a little bit differently, but the goal is to get your body weight over the edge before gravity takes you and hangs up your rear wheel and you go over the bars. Simple math, right? But it's not so simple because we have all these natural elements that kind of make the numbers a little bit more confusing. So when you're learning how to do drops, the best thing to do first is understand how your momentum can get you through those equations, over those hurdles smoothly. But in brief, what we want to do is make sure that our momentum doesn't hang up on the drop edge and that it carries over in a smooth arc off of the edge. And in this case, you can't see it, but there's a drop down there. So anytime you do a feature, you want to not only worry about how your momentum impacts that feature, but you want to position yourself in a place where you are set up for the next feature. This all feels pretty smooth, not because I'm wrecking through it like a bowling ball, but because I'm guiding my momentum. Whoa, loose. Trail amnesia. Would be the first time I've had to loop back. We took this wrong. Church. There we go, slanted ground drop. This is not a drop that you want to do fast. You got to kind of do it slow because it has a steeper landing, which is good, but the roll off slants downhill so you can pick up speed real quick. So again, that's all momentum. You got to understand how to control that. The reason being is if you blast off this too fast, you're going to extend your drop time by multiple feet. If you go off without control or an understanding of how to control your body mass as you leave the lip, essentially what you are is you're a first-time skydiver and you just jumped out of the plane and you hope your parachute works. We want to be controlled skydivers. We want to control our trajectory, make sure we land smooth, because this one here has a pretty quick and loose section after it that you got to be prepared to steer yourself through. I definitely smell something dead around here. I hope it's not like somebody that's, intertwined with a bike. So I'm coming in slow and in control because I want to ride this as a controlled drop, not a free fall. There we go, we're right back in control. We're getting our speed in check. We're getting rid of all this other stuff, which we're able to because we controlled that fall. Here we have a very small up and over. It's not something you can pedal grind through. You have to rely on momentum. And up and overs or getting up on stuff, the idea of momentum is very essential. All momentum right there. How you doing, buddy? We go over momentum. We want to change our momentum to keep our balance. Momentum's up on this rock. Forward. It's one of the reasons why you want to look ahead when you ride, is because you want to be able to plan for what to do with your momentum. And if you can't plan for it, then your momentum's going off in directions you don't want it to go. So as you ride, you're essentially always just trying to find balance. But you'll recognize that as you ride more, you pick this up naturally. But the best way to maintain balance is with positive momentum, okay? And that's all the things you do with your body to ensure that you're maintaining that positive momentum. We got a dude coming up the trail here. We're gonna pause and let him go. All this stuff just wants to wreck me, okay? But I can't let that happen because I don't want to wreck. So therefore, I want to make sure that my momentum is going in a way that is not going to allow this trail to do to me what it wants to do to me. What I'm doing in that area is I'm ensuring that I'm carrying positive momentum where I want to go, and I'm not staring at my landings. Because if I stare at my landings, what that'll inevitably do is it'll pinpoint, it'll anchor my momentum where I land. So I'm always looking up. Right there, that was a very loose turn, and I actually had to steer with the rear, which again is kind of like using your momentum on the back end to really redirect your path. I always miss that rock right there. Got a little boulder field here, nothing we can't dance through, squirm through, pumping up and down, left to right, forward and back. So I'm in and out of my saddle, ensuring that my momentum is going where my line wants to go. Sometimes I'm up forward, sometimes I'm shifting my weight back. I'm kind of toying around with this, climbing different directions just to test my momentum. How you guys doing? Good guys, thanks. Just me coming through. So I'm going to use this rock as this example because there's a lot of pedal clips on it and some chainring art. So a lot of people get hung up on this one, it seems. So if you're ever crawling slow and you're in a scenario where you look down and you just know your back wheel is just going to get hung up, you just don't have the A to B momentum, the bowling ball momentum to pull you up over it. What you need to do is use your hips, drive your hips forward and lift that back end up. If the rear end isn't weighted, it's going to be far less likely to hang up on you. Let's shoot over to Josh about an hour and a half from here. So when I talk about momentum in terms of jumping and jumps, it's really less about your speed and the speed that you need to clear a gap or carry you to the back side of the jump. While momentum plays a big part in that, the momentum that I'm referring to is how you're using your body within this box, within our bike, to control our arc, okay? Our body is creating this momentum because our body weighs more than our bike does. And our body really controls the outcome of jumps. It controls what we do in the air. It controls our line off of jumps. It controls our style. And all of that is the momentum that's stored in your body and how you use it in timing with transitions and jumps. Right into a headwind. So if you think about momentum in terms of life in general, you could argue that confidence is established with positive momentum. Productivity, motivation, it all comes from that feeling of momentum. And when you start looking at things, again, I'm not going into this guru BS, but if you start looking at things in terms of its value in momentum, in the direction that you want to go, it really kind of changes your perspective. And life is not a bowling ball that rolls from point A to point B. Life is very much a bouncy ball on a very rugged trail. A trail that you hope is very long, and when you get to the end of it, you hope that it was very exciting too.